you thinking about doing a PhD? Doing a PhD is a big commitment, and I mean big. It's not a decision that you want to take lightly. So today I am going to tell you 5 reasons, and they're pretty major reasons, why you might not want to do a PhD. My name is Dr. Hayley Stainton, and if you are new to this channel, please do subscribe and make sure you hit the like button on this video. I do cover all things to do with academia, doing a PhD, doing a degree, study skills, all those sorts of things. So there will be lots of helpful content on this channel for you. Okay, so doing a PhD, it is no easy feat. It is all-encompassing. A PhD is a pretty big deal. But what do you get at the end of it? Is it worth it? Well, I do have a few tangible results from doing my PhD. I have this lovely graduation photo. I have my thesis. Look at the size of this. This is a big one. I am quite proud of this, but was it worth it? Really? Was it really worth it? And the other thing that I have is a book that I wrote. So I took my PhD research and some other knowledge that I had attained throughout the process, and I put it all into this lovely book. So as you can see, I do have some tangible outcomes, but the question is, why should you not do a PhD? Because it's not for everyone and it's not perfect. And I'm now going to give you my 5 reasons. So make sure you watch through to the end, because if you are considering a PhD, these are 5 things you will really want to think about. My first reason why you might not want to do a PhD is because it will, I repeat, it will take over your life. You might go into this saying, no it won't, I'll put it to one side, I'll have a break at the end of the day. Yeah, I don't know anyone who's managed that, because a PhD is all-encompassing, it is all-consuming, and you are on this journey, it's your own private journey, and nobody else is in your classroom. It's not like doing a degree or a college course where you're sharing that course content with your teacher and with all of your classmates. You're in this classroom all alone, and you're going through this in your head all on your own. And there are times when I remember washing my hair twice and thinking, hang on a minute, didn't I just wash my hair? And it was because I'm thinking about what is the next statistical test I should be doing? What is the best way to write that up? What are the things I should be doing here or there, or whatever it is? I'm thinking about my research. I'm thinking about it at 5 a.m. in the morning. I'm thinking about it at 5 p.m. at night. I'm thinking about it at all hours. And I don't want to. I didn't want to. But it's so hard to switch off because, it is one project that just has this ability to just take over your life. Not only will a PhD likely take over your life in terms of it's always in your head, you're always thinking about it, as hard as you might try not to, it also has this ability to take over your life in that it becomes your work, it becomes your social life, I remember going on holidays that were just for PhD, or I say holidays, sort of conference trips with sort of lectures and workshops and things. It was a great experience. But when your holidays are becoming part of your PhD too, it is all-encompassing. So if you are thinking about doing a PhD, this is something that you need to be prepared for, and you need to be at peace with that. Reason number 2 why you might not want to do a PhD is because it is absolutely not a get-rich-quick scheme. Lots of people think that by doing a PhD, they are going to make more money. But actually, is that the case? Now, this does differ depending on which sector you work in. So if you want to go into, for example, science, there are lots of jobs that need you to have that qualification to demonstrate your level of research and your ability to research, because you will be doing that in the workplace. But there are also other jobs that you don't always need a PhD for. So my specialism is travel and tourism. There are not many jobs in the travel and tourism industry that require you to have a PhD. So what's the point? So really take a step back and think about it and think, why am I going to do a PhD? And how much actually is that going to benefit me in the long run? Absolutely, there are some jobs where you have to have that PhD. There are some jobs I've been quite interested to read up on in the past that have been for major organisations like the United Nations or the World Tourism Organisation. Organisations like that where the jobs are research based and they need you to have a PhD. Of course, if you are interested in pursuing a career in academia, you probably need a PhD there too. There are not many universities that will accept people to teach or to be researchers without having that PhD. So that is a must. However, there are other jobs where actually you don't need that PhD. Are you going to get paid any more? Probably not much, to be honest. There is some research that has been published out there, and it does suggest that maybe by doing a PhD, you are only ever so slightly better off than if you did a master's. I think I read somewhere that it's something like you get, on average, somebody with a master's might have 23% higher salary than somebody without. But a PhD was something like 25%. I can't remember exactly where I got that information from now, but I think that gives you an idea that actually it's not always worth it. And, you know, when I say to you it's not a get-rich-quick scheme, it's because it's really not. So you might not earn more in the long run. If you are looking at a career in academia, you're probably never going to get rich because the pay just isn't that high. And think about the time that it's taking you to do that PhD too. So a PhD can be anywhere from sort of 3 to up to about 10 years really. And you are either going to get a funded PhD, where you're going to be on a relatively low amount of income, because that's coming from the funding, or you are going to be self-funding it and you will be paying that yourself. So obviously that is taking up a big portion of your money too. So don't just think about at the end of the PhD, where would you be financially in terms of the job that you might secure, but also make sure that you take into account the time that you're doing the PhD. That is time that you are not getting work experience, or probably not. It's time that you're not progressing in the workplace. So by the time you enter the workplace, are you actually going to be behind your peers who may not have done the PhD? I don't know, this depends, absolutely depends on what job you are doing, but that is something that you really, really should consider, and it might be a reason not to do that PhD. Reason number 3 why you might not want to do a PhD is because it's pretty lonely. If you are somebody who thrives on social interaction, if you are somebody who enjoys the company of others, you might not be well suited for a PhD. As I mentioned before, when you do a PhD, you're in this classroom, and it's almost a classroom in your head, really. And you're in this classroom all alone. Yes, you've got supervisors, but they kind of visit the classroom. They check everything's going okay. They don't know the ins and outs of what happens all day long. They don't know all of the minute details. They're there to guide you through that process. But actually, you're going through this process pretty much all on your own. And even if you might make some friends who are also doing PhDs, yes, it's great to have somebody who's experiencing the same sort of processes as you, but they're still in their own classroom. They are still very separate. So for some people, you know, sitting at a desk and writing and researching and doing your desk research, practical research, and being on your own a lot of that time, both physically and mentally, is okay. For me, this was okay. I'm quite good at working on my own. Sometimes I prefer to be on my own. So for me, that was fine. But for some people, it's probably not. You haven't got that sort of classmate aspect that you have at masters or at undergraduate. So if you are the kind of person who doesn't like being on their own and working on their own, then maybe a PhD is not for you. Reason number 4 why you might not want to do a PhD is because actually it could be detrimental for you finding a job in the future. Hold on a minute. Well, how can doing extra qualifications be detrimental? Well, actually they can. You can be overqualified for some jobs, and that's probably not a place that you want to be. I remember when I applied for a job as cabin crew a few years ago, and I had my master's, and I remember thinking, blimey, they might not want me. Like, why would I do a master's degree to become cabin crew? I actually later found out that lots of people do master's degrees and undergraduate degrees and then go on to be cabin crew. But that was kind of the thought process actually that was going on in my head, and it is true. There are some jobs where they're just not going to pay you a lot more money, and a PhD isn't really recognised to them. It's maybe not the skills and the qualities that particular job is looking for. So one thing that I recommend that you do if you are weighing up whether to do a PhD or not, one of the things that you can do is to create like a mind map. I often like to use images and doodles and things, and I will maybe stick it on the wall, and even if it doesn't mean something to you straight away, it might mean something if you look at it every day and you keep reminding yourselves of the positives, the negatives, you know, what do you think about these things? And one of the areas that you can do that in is looking at your job prospects and what jobs would you consider and what kind of work do you want to do. Do not do a PhD because you don't know what else to do, because actually that might be detrimental for you looking for a job in the future, and I think everyone would agree that's probably not what you want. And reason number 5 why you might not want to do a PhD is because you do actually have to perform in public. What? I thought I was writing a massive thesis. Did I show you my thesis? Oh. Everything's falling down now. Did I show you this? Look how big it is. Seriously, 3 years of my life. Ultimately, doing a PhD is not only about writing that thesis. It's also about getting publications, and it's also about presenting. You will have to attend conferences. You will have to go to events and present your research, discuss research, all of these sorts of things. So if you are a shy person, if you're quite introverted, you might not be comfortable with this. Now that we've got sort of the age of teleconferencing and video calls, you will likely have to do things like that as well. And you could have a pretty sizable audience. Not only have you got lots of people who could potentially be watching you present your research and your ideas, etc., but a lot of those people who are watching you are probably much more qualified than you. They probably have many research papers. They are doctors, professors, etc. They've got years and years of experience. And, you know, people can be pretty critical. As supportive as people can be as well, you do need to be open to criticism. You do need to be open to this stuff, and it might be in a public forum. You need to be able to defend what you are saying, and this isn't for everyone. On top of that, you will likely need to publish in high quality academic journals or book chapters. Some PhDs these days do come with the requirement that you will get a set number of publications during the process. Some even aren't based on the thesis like I showed you, but they are actually PhD on publication. So if you have one of these, the success of you completing your PhD is absolutely determined by how many publications you can get and where that work is published. Now this can be very tricky because you have the review process, you have the revision process. This can take a very long time, and a lot of this stuff is quite subjective too. You can submit a paper to one journal and one reviewer will think it's brilliant and another reviewer will think it's absolutely terrible. So to a point, this stuff is subjective too, depending on the reviewer's experiences and any biases they might have towards that subject or the things that you're writing about. So that is another thing that you need to consider. So doing a PhD is not just about your thesis, it's also about being able to publish work and being able to present your work as well. Okay, so those are my 5 reasons why you might not want to do a PhD. I've done it, I've been through it. Would I do it again? I don't know. There are lots of great things about doing a PhD too, and I am going to talk about those in my next video. So do check that one out. As academics, it is important that we do weigh up both sides of the coin. So I've got 5 reasons not to do a PhD that I've just covered in this video, and I've got 5 reasons that you absolutely should do it too in my next video too. So do check that one out. And if you have found this video helpful, do subscribe to my channel, do leave me a comment, say hello, let me know who you are, what are you thinking of studying, why, etc. I'm always interested to hear it. So have a great day, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.